Assalamualaikum sahabat, bagaimana keadaan kalian hari ini? Kami doakan semoga sehat selalu.
But the people of the Western world, and also the rest of the world, who are now suffering and who will suffer even more as a consequence of the response of the West to Russia's intervention in Ukraine, they will now have to ask themselves, why is it that we have to suffer? Because they say, no, Ukraine has the right to join NATO. No, Ukraine has the right to join NATO. No, Ukraine has the right to join NATO. And because of that, the whole world must now suffer. But Ukraine will have to humble itself. Ukraine will have to submit. There's no other alternative. Ukraine will have to submit and to accept that we will be a neutral state. And so no joining of NATO. All the whole world suffering because of this stupidity. Ukraine has the freedom to join NATO. So guess what will happen now? It is not the military affairs and the strategic affairs that I want to discuss. What I want to discuss is the sanctions which have been imposed on Russia as a consequence of Russian military intervention in Ukraine. And my response is that it is shameful, it is disgraceful, and it is manifestly sinful to use trade as a weapon of war, to use business as a weapon of war, to use food as a weapon of war. You have to be a people with absolutely no moral consciousness whatsoever. It was the kuffar, the mushrikeen, the idolaters of Mecca. They were the ones who imposed an economic boycott on Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his small band of Muslims for 3 years. Economic boycott, and we suffered. We suffered. But we never in our history, we have never used trade as a weapon. Not this civilization. We've never used business as a weapon. We've never used food as a weapon. You have to be scandalously so and absolutely godless people to impose economic sanctions as a weapon of war. And this is sinful. And there'll come a day when the Lord God is going to intervene. It's coming soon. The Great War. And He's going to deal with you because you are laden with sin. Laden with sin. That's the modern West, those who control power. When will the Great War take place? My answer, which will surprise you, is that the legal state of war has already commenced. That when you're imposing these sanctions and seizing Russian property, seizing Russian money, stealing it, you are declaring war. That's what they've done to Russia. I think $300 billion worth of Russian money stolen, frozen, Russian property, Russian aircraft. They're just seizing them, freezing them. This is a declaration of war. Russia cannot sell her oil. Russia cannot sell her wheat, her food. It is something commendable. And we have to give credit where credit is due. That India, the Indian government, has so far resisted these Western sanctions. And the Indian government is prepared to continue doing business with Russia. And for this we must commend the Indian government, regardless of what our critics may say. But what I want to say concerning the Great War is not only that the legal state of war has already commenced, but also that Russia has the right to choose the time of its own choice to commence the fighting, because you are strangulating Russia. And when someone is being strangulated, you put a rope around his neck and you're tightening it. He is the one who will decide when he will choose to decide what to do to remove the rope from among it. It's not you who will decide when the war will take place. He will decide because you're strangulating him. If he has the power to remove the rope from around his neck and dispose of those who are attacking him, then he will choose the time to do it. So I don't know when Russia will do it. And our Christian brothers, I'm sure, would agree with us that weapons, that trade and business and food must never become a weapon of war. So you are strangulating Russia. This is sinful. And the Lord God is going to intervene when the war takes place, and perhaps it is Russia who will decide when the war will begin, the fighting will begin. I don't think it will take much time for the war to be over. But our prophet has prophesied they're going to be fighting for the mountain of gold, because what the sanctions are doing is the sanctions are causing the monetary system to collapse. It's already vulnerable, the petrodollar monetary system. And I gave my interpretation of the hadith long years ago. Our Prophet said that sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, that the river Euphrates will uncover a mountain of gold. And people will fight for the gold. And 99 out of every 100 who fight for that gold will be killed, but the believers must not touch the gold. The sheep and the cattle can continue to sit on a sofa waiting for a mountain of the metal to come out from underneath the river. Let's leave them. We say, no, this is mutashabiha. It was in 1974, an ocean of oil underneath the river began to function as a mountain of gold when the petrodollar monetary system was created by Henry Kissinger. When oil was sold for only US dollars. And they accepted that. That caused the US dollar to survive for so long. And today Russia says we will not sell our oil except for rubles. It's the same thing. And now you want to you want to condemn them for what you were doing all these times? So 99 out of every 100 will be killed in that war. And I am saying to you, the 99 will be from the West. Russia will survive, and Russia will win the war. That's right. And the world after the Great War is the one in which Muslims must be concerned about. Because after the Great War, our Prophet prophesied the next event would be the conquest of Constantinople. I want to leave you now with this, that you have to prepare yourself for the conquest of Constantinople, which is an event prophesied by Nabi Muhammad والسلام, which will take place after the Great War. Apart from the sheep and the goats who believe that the Great War took place 600 years ago, leave them, they're nonsense. We know the Great War has not as yet taken place. When the Great War takes place, it's going to be a nuclear war. When the Great War takes place, the next event after that will be the conquest of Constantinople. And I want to leave you with this because I want to speak another occasion on that subject of the conquest of Constantinople. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
They rule the earth and sky. Oh, one world, many stories. One world, many stories. One world, many stories all around the world. In Mexico, they tell about a bird whose name is Coo. She gets some pretty feathers, but she gets in trouble too.
Masih banyak topik yang akan kita bahas. Silakan subscribe channel kami agar kita bisa lebih dekat dan bersama membahas berbagai topik menarik lainnya. Like bila Anda suka dan unlike saja bila Anda tidak suka dengan video seperti ini. Terima kasih telah menonton dan sampai jumpa.
Many stories all around the world. Once upon a time, people told stories because they didn't have books or DVDs, no computers and no TVs, so the stories got around by word of mouth. From the east to the west, from the north to the south, from Constantinople to Zanzibar, folks told tales as they traveled afar. The Himalayas, Hawaii, Haiti, Hong Kong, the world's too